To truly understand the tragic existence of the Orcs, we must journey back to the dawn of Middle-earth. Orcs were not born of natural creation, but forged in shadow-twisted echoes of the firstborn elves, when Iruilvatar breathed life into the elves by the waters of Quivinen. They were radiant and free. Yet Melkor, the first Dark Lord, coveted this power of creation, though he possessed none of Eru's divine flame. In his envy, he seized wandering elves and subjected them to unspeakable torment within the dark dungeons of Utumno. There, through centuries of corruption and cruelty, fair forms became foul, spirits were broken, and the first Orcs emerged grotesque parodies of their once noble origins. This dark genesis is more than myth. It lies at the heart of Tolkien's moral tapestry. Evil, he tells us, cannot create, yet can only mar and mock what is beautiful. Thus, the Orcs are living testaments to a fallen world, creatures not of invention but of desecration, and in them we see the cost of Melkor's rebellion, the sorrow of corrupted beauty, and the first ripple in the great tragedy of Ardamard. The story of the Orcs begins not in bloodlust but in pain. The Orcs of Middle-earth, bred in torment and shaped by malice, are often seen as little more than mindless beasts, tools of war, chaos, and cruelty. But their nature is far more tragic and complex. Though their origin may lie in the corruption of elves, Orcs are not immortal like their fair kin. Instead, they are diminished beings, short-lived, sickly, and subject to disease. In them we witness a profound truth of Tolkien's world. Evil cannot craft with the light of creation, it can only twist, degrade, and deform what already is. Melkor's foul legacy lives on in the Orcs, whose very lives are marred by his poison. They do not live noble lives, nor do they die noble deaths. Their existence is often marked by brutality, fear, and the never-ending lash of dark masters. Yet, beneath their snarling exterior and cruel laughter, there may lie a flicker of something more. Some Orcs speak with cunning, others with bitterness, and some, like Gorbag and Shagrat, even express dreams of a quieter life, free from endless war and domination. Could it be that within their twisted souls lingers a faint echo of the elves they once were? Tolkien wrestled with this very idea, suggesting in his letters that though Orcs are naturally evil, they are still part of the world created by Eru-tainted, yes, but not beyond all hope. And so we are left with a haunting question: are Orcs damned by design, or victims of a curse they never chose? Perhaps that's the true horror of their nature, not just their savagery, but the tragedy that they might once have been something else, something more in them. We see a mirror darkly of what beauty becomes when it is twisted by hatred and ruled by fear. When the shadow of war once again crept across Middle-earth during the War of the Ring, the Orcs marched with ferocity unmatched. They poured from the blackened pits of Mordor, the crumbling towers of Isengard, and the haunted fortress of Dol Guldur, their shrieks echoing through the forests, mountains, and vales. These were not merely soldiers, they were the embodiment of centuries of darkness, wielded like weapons by their masters Sauron and Saruman. At Dol Guldur, the Orcs rose with terrifying strength, launching assault after assault upon Lothlorien and Mirkwood, only to be met with the unyielding might of elven valor. Thranduil's warriors stood firm, and Galadriel herself, radiant and terrible, cast down the fortress in a cleansing storm of light. Meanwhile, Saruman's engineer Uruk-hai brought war to Rohan, clashing in the thunderous battle of Helm's Deep, but even there, their strength broke like waves against the cliffs. Shattered by the riders of Rohan and the awakening wrath of the Ents, in the north, the Battle of Dale Sol, Orcs fight alongside Easterlings, only to fall before the united power of men and dwarves. And within Moria's dark halls, there can linger still, haunted remnants of battles past. Every front was a blood-stained testament to the Orcs' role as the foot soldiers of ruin. Yet for all their numbers and savagery, they were ultimately leaderless pawns. They moved not for love of land, nor for kin, but out of fear and domination. And when their masters began to fall, first Saruman, then Sauron, their lines broke, and panic overtook purpose. The War of the Ring wasn't just the end of a chapter for men, elves, and dwarves. It was the beginning of the end for the orcs, who without command began to scatter like shadows chased by dawn. With the One Ring cast into the fire and the Eye of Sauron extinguished forever, a strange silence swept across Mordor. The towers that once pulsed with dark energy crumbled, and the skies above Gorgoroth cleared for the first time in ages. But for the orcs, those twisted children of darkness, the fall of their master did not bring liberation, but chaos. Deprived of Sauron's dominating will, they scattered like ants from a shattered hive. No longer bound by his control, many went mad, turning on each other in confusion and fury. Some, in despair, cast themselves into chasms or tore each other apart. Tolkien describes them running hither and thither, mindless, some wailing and vanishing into the blackest corners of the earth, seeking darkness not as a tool, but as shelter from a world they no longer understood. Yet, as in all things, some endured. A hardened few slunk back into the mountains, into deep caves and shadowed woods, clinging to their hatred and fear like armor. They remembered the fall of Morgoth, after all, and had survived that dark age too. These scattered remnants no longer served a dark lord, but survival itself, no banners, no orders, no purpose, just the echo of a world that had left them behind. It was not hope that kept them alive, but something more primal: survival, revenge, resentment. The fall of Sauron didn't end the orcs, it simply enshackled them. And for the first time in ages, the world would discover what orcs were when left to their own devices. Without leash or lash, would they fade quietly into forgotten caverns? Or would they become something worse, masters of their own brand of darkness? Unbound and directionless in a world no longer ruled by fear. In the flickering shadows of Middle-earth's darkest corners, a question lingers like mist after a storm: could the orcs ever have been redeemed? Born from corruption and steeped in hatred, they seemed beyond salvation. Yet, buried deep within the murk of their savagery, glimmers of something more flicker, something unsettlingly human, in a moment easily overlooked. To orcs, Shagrat and Gorbag speak not of conquest or carnage, but of escaping it. "Let's slip off somewhere," one mutters. "No big bosses, just loot and quiet." It's a simple exchange, almost comical. And yet, it shakes the foundations of what we believe about these creatures. They don't dream of Sauron's dominion. They dream of freedom. Could this yearning be the final, fading echo of what they once were? Tolkien himself wrestled with this. In his letters, he pondered whether orcs were irredeemably evil or tragically lost, corrupted, yes, but still creations of Eru, and thus part of a world that was, at its core, good. The idea haunts more than it comforts. For if redemption were possible, then pity becomes more than a virtue, it becomes a burden. It asks us to look at monsters and see victims, to consider that even the most grotesque might carry a spark of something sacred. And yet, in all the pages of Tolkien's lore, we never see an orc turn from their path, not truly. Perhaps the weight of what was done to them is simply too heavy to unburden. Perhaps the chains of darkness are welded too deep, but their fleeting conversations, their bitter grumbles, hint at a lost potential, a path never taken. In the end, Tolkien leaves us with questions, not answers. Can something broken beyond recognition ever be made whole again? And more importantly, would the world even allow it? As the Third Age waned and the Age of Men began to dawn, the fate of the orcs drifted toward oblivion. No longer backed by the iron will of Sauron or Morgoth, they became scattered embers of a fire that had long since burned out. In the shadows of crumbling fortresses and the blackened roots of forgotten mountains, they clung to life, but the world had changed. This was no longer an age of hiding in darkness. The realms of men were growing stronger, braver, and more watchful. Kings no longer turned a blind eye to what lurked in the hills, and so the hunted became the haunted. The few orcs that survived the war likely banded together in ragged tribes, scraping out an existence in the depths of the misty mountains or the ruins of Mordor, but without a unifying master. They were leaderless, quarrelsome, and easily broken. Their hatred for men and elves still burned, but it was a fire without direction. And the Age of Men offered no place for them. As cities flourished and roads stretched across the land, these pockets of resistance were hunted down one by one until their howls faded into legend. Tolkien himself seemed to accept this quiet extinction. In The New Shadow, his abandoned sequel to The Lord of the Rings, there is no mention of orcs-only men, now the authors of their own darkness. It's a subtle but powerful statement. Evil had shifted form. The orcs, so long used as tools of shadow, were no longer necessary. The world had moved on, so ends the tale of the orcs, not in glory, nor in redemption, but in silence, a tragic, inevitable vanishing like a bad dream that fades with the sunrise, leaving behind only echoes and questions in its wake. As the final echoes of Orcish war cries faded into the deep recesses of time, a sobering question lingers in their wake. Was their eradication an act of justice or a quiet genocide cloaked in the language of peace? The orcs, monstrous though they were, did not choose their beginnings. They were twisted into being, shaped by malice and bound by fear. Yet, when their dark masters fell, and the world no longer had a place for their kind, there was no mercy extended, only pursuit, eradication, and silence. They were hunted, their remnants destroyed, their legacy wiped from the face of Middle-earth as thoroughly as the ruins of Dol Guldur. But Tolkien, ever the philosopher beneath the storyteller, does not let us settle comfortably into triumph. In The Lord of the Rings, Gandalf cautions Frodo against judging too quickly, reminding him that even Gollum, lost as he seemed, had a part to play in the fate of the world. Might not the orcs, too, have deserved that same sliver of grace? Or were they too far gone, so steeped in shadow that to let them remain would risk the darkness taking root once more? This tension between pity and punishment, between compassion and consequence, sits at the heart of Tolkien's moral universe. And perhaps that's why the orcs trouble us still. Their story isn't just about war, it's about what we do with the remnants of evil once victory is claimed. Do we offer redemption, or do we bury the past with sword and flame? Never stopping to ask if some, just some, might have chosen a different path if given the chance. In the end, their fate forces us to examine our own hearts. How far are we willing to go to preserve the good, and at what cost to the broken souls we leave behind? As our journey through the enchanted lands of Middle-earth draws to a close, I want to take this opportunity to light up the beacons and call for help. So, if you enjoyed today's video, remember that every like, share, and subscribe is a beacon of support that helps me continue to spend more time making more videos like this. Don't forget to join the discussion by sharing your thoughts and theories in the comments section below. I always love hearing your insights and perspectives. Thank you for watching Secret Unravelled. Goodbye, fellow travelers. Analysis of key ideas and main characters as our journey through the enchanted lands of Middle-earth draws to a close. I want to take this opportunity to light up the beacons and call for help. So, if you enjoyed today's video, remember that every like, share, and subscribe is a beacon of support that helps me continue to spend more time making more videos like this. Don't forget to join the discussion by sharing your thoughts and theories in the comments section below. I always love to hear your insights and perspectives. Thanks for watching Secret Unravelled. Goodbye, fellow travelers. Analysis of key ideas and main characters as our journey through the magical lands of Middle-earth draws to a close. I wanted to take this opportunity to light up the beacons and call for help. So, if you enjoyed today's video, remember that every like, share, and subscribe is a beacon of support that helps me continue to spend more time making more videos like this. Don't forget to join the discussion by sharing your thoughts and theories in the comments section below. I always love to hear your insights and perspectives. Thanks for watching Secret Unravelled. Goodbye, fellow travelers. Analysis of key ideas and main characters.